introduce a former working colleague, a neighbor, a friend, and a co-occupant of this building, Dorris Miller with Community Development Resources. I've known Doris for a long time. She really knows her stuff. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to her. And of course, we have her to thank for our coffee. So Doris, thank you for that.
Good morning. What I'm going to do, oh, they have a box here where I'm supposed to be inside of this.
And the microphone too?
Can I just talk loud?
No.
Okay.
You won't come out good on YouTube if you just talk about it. I forgot to announce that too. If you ever miss a coffee and you really wanted to hear the speaker, all of our presentations are captured on video and they're on our YouTube channel. So you can visit our YouTube channel anytime you want to check out the messages from past speakers.
What I'm going to talk about today is community development resources and what we do and what we are. And I'm also rolling out a new program that we're just starting, and you guys are the first to hear about it. So that will be at the end of my presentation. And that's really weird to be on the microphone. Back on the table where the donuts are, there's some of our brochures giving addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and a thumbnail of what we do. So if you're interested or have a friend that might be interested, grab a couple. Community Development Resources is a micro and small business lender. We are a nonprofit, and we have a mission statement. And our mission, and I'm going to read that, is the mission of Community Development Resources to create economic opportunity and strong communities by providing capital and technical assistance to develop and fortify small businesses. A little bit how we got started back in 1994. Then Mayor Mike Johans and Rick Wallace, our founder, got together and wanted to find a way to help businesses get started in Lincoln. And then this was born with Self-Employment Loan Fund of Lincoln. Their model was peer group lending, which is the same type of model or a similar model to what like the Grameen Bank does, things like that. In 2001, we became a 501c3 nonprofit. In 2002, we became a CDFI. A CDFI is a Community Development Financial Institution, and those are groups that are designated by the Treasury Department through their CDFI fund. It takes about 2 years to get approval to be an emerging CDFI, and once you've satisfied that, then you become a full CDFI. CDFIs can do a lot of things. Our primary focus at this time is lending, but they also work with affordable housing, food deserts, things like that. In 2003, the name was changed from SELF to Community Development Resources. In 2005, we became what's known as a Community Development Entity. Once again, this is a special designation that you have to apply for through the Treasury Department. This would allow us to work with new market tax credits, a specific program. Nebraska does not have much of a history with new market tax credits. They're much bigger on the coast, although there have been some used, especially in the Haymarket area. In 2009, we became a certified development company. That's a designation that you get through the Small Business Administration. This allows us to do SBA 504 loans. SBA 504 loans, I'm not going to talk about them very much because that's not my expertise. But say you have a lender and he's got a customer and they want to do a business loan, a commercial loan for this company. And everything is just on the border, but it's a little bit too much risk for the parameters the bank has set up. Through our relationship with the bank, we can come in and do a SBA 504 loan that takes part of the risk away from the bank. It's a very stable product. It helps make people more able to get the larger amounts of money. It's a fixed rate we do the fixed rate products, and they can go out as far as 20 years, so. And yes, I have all kinds of notes because I tend to go off track. What we primarily do, what I'm going to primarily talk about is micro and small business lending. Once again, my background is with a retail bank. I've spent 15 years in lending with a bank here in Lincoln in the operations area. As a bank, you have specific rules set by the federal government that you have to abide by, and you have specific rules set up by your board of directors to minimize risk to the bank. So that makes it especially tough for like startups, businesses that are small and starting to grow, people who've had problems with credit issues in the past. It makes it very difficult for a bank to be able to help them. We can step in, and in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, we can help. We can do a loan. We can provide the business consulting, give them advice to help them get on their way. We don't offer depository products. We don't offer lines of credit. Our whole goal with what we do is to get this business on stable ground and get them bankable so that they have a future working with Bryce, for example. As far as the loans go, we will go as low as $1,000. We'll go as high as $50,000. We do have some ways to get past that $50,000. It actually ends up being 2 separate loans. But in general, for a startup or a younger company, that's going to be plenty of money. As far as terms go, we'll go as short as 1 year. We can go as long as 6 years. We generally require collateral. And you're going, well, I'm just a startup, I don't have collateral. Do you have a car? Do you own your own home? Do you have equity in either of those things? We've taken some pretty bizarre things. With one loan, we took a baby grand piano. And you think I didn't have fun trying to find out what the value of that piano was? Turns out the value of that piano was more than enough to secure the loan. 3 years later, they got an opportunity to move, and she sold her business for 4 times what she had in it. You know, that was a really good product, good loan. We also will require you to sign as a personal guarantor / co-signer on the loan. So if you have a business that's Miller Incorporated, that's a specific legal structure, and the business is a legal entity and can sign loan papers. They can obligate themselves to debt. But we're going to put you on the line personally for that debt as well. I have all kinds of interesting things about eligibility, which I'm sure would throw you no end. If you go to our website, it's www.cdr-nebraska, all spelled out, .org. The information is on our website, the kinds of things we're going to look for with your application. The application is out there, and we're starting to build an event calendar. So right now, Perk Up coffees are on there, a few things that the university does. So we actively are looking for and soliciting things of interest. We try and keep them low cost or free. So go to our website, check our event calendar, sign up for our newsletter, which Jane puts out, and we definitely will not fill up your inbox. We try to keep that as a minimum and keep it so that it's things that are relevant to you. The current rate on a SBA 504 loan is usually pushed out there. Like I said, they aren't long. We keep them short and sweet. The types of loans we offer, I mentioned the SBA briefly. The bulk of our small business and micro loans we do with SBA funds. We borrow the money from the SBA, we turn around and loan it out. You know, what kind of interest rates? Well, if it's $10,000 or less, our rate is 8.5%. If it's over $10,000, it's 7 3/4. Although we have been able to do 7.5 for a lot of people. If you were to go to talk to a commercial banker, their rates will be better. But like I said, we're doing loans that they're unable to do. We're taking on more risk, so we charge a little bit more. But we're way cheaper than using one of the online business lenders, you know, like Cabbage, one of those people. We also have a product called the Community Nonprofit Loan Fund. This was established by the Woods Charitable Fund. The Woods Company, or the Woods family used to own the phone company here in town. At this point, the only funds we have to loan for nonprofits are in Lincoln, Lancaster County. There is a small application fee for those, but we don't charge interest. Because the loan fund is small, we can't provide the startup capital for a nonprofit. But what we can do and have done is basically bridge financing. We had one group that we loaned them the money to get their roof fixed on their building, and they had income coming in the future through grants, you know, and so they paid us off as they got grant funds in. We have another group that we're currently working with now that get Medicaid money. And as we all know, the state has had a little bit of problem with their Medicaid funds, and so we've loaned them money to keep them going while they wait for their reimbursements. The requirements on the nonprofit loan fund is they must be a 501c3, and they may not be faith-based. And like I said, Lincoln, Lancaster County. The other thing that is maybe the most important thing that we do is technical assistance. The SBA has decided that technical assistance is an old-fashioned term, so now we call it business consulting. We do one-on-one business consulting. We sponsor some workshops, and hopefully we'll have those on the calendar here shortly. We promote workshops done by others, and we will also help create one-on-one time with an expert. So if you need an accountant, we have an accountant that we use that we actually will pay for him to come and work with you on an hourly basis, straightening out your books or whatever like that. The biggest thing I wanted to do today, though, sorry, Luke, is we're starting a new program. Talked to everybody I needed to talk to and got the okay from everybody. Because we are so small, we cannot offer all the advice, the technical assistance, the business consulting that a business startup or small business needs. There are a lot of people around. Catherine's company does HR. We don't do any of that. We don't have an HR expert. But one of the things, do you have your brochure still for? One of the things is there's some really great programs that SCC is offering. And they're not very expensive, but when you're running a startup, every dollar counts. So we have a little extra money this year that we have earmarked to reimburse people for attending programs that SCC is putting on. This is a test.
I like the sound of that.
No, we cannot pay for a semester-long class in one of the programs, but through continuing education, they have a lot of really good classes available. We have set up that we will reimburse for, there's a group that meets, there's 4 different sessions of what's involved in starting your business. There is simple steps for starting your business, the business plan and beyond, and one of my favorites that if you have a small business and haven't done one of these, you need to do it. General sales and use tax. I know a number of people who are making payments to the state because they did not realize they needed to charge sales tax and remit it. The state is really good about and flexible if you come to them and say, hey, I screwed up, you know, I need to make payments to you. If you're using an accountant, they can help you work with the state to get that straightened out. They also have a session on sales and use tax for construction. My husband is in business for himself. He is a custom cabinet maker. So he primarily works with contractors rather than with individuals. So I know that he has to have the contractor registration, which can be a little bit confusing. But there's also special rules that govern when you buy your materials and how sales tax is charged and who has to collect it. So whether you're in one of the trades or you have a small business and you have not done this, do this. And I'll tell you how to create a relationship with us so that I will end up reimbursing you for the cost of the class.
Question, Doris, are these the classes that are sponsored by SCORE?
Some of them are sponsored by SCORE. Yes, SCORE has some really great stuff. Their costs are generally fairly inexpensive, but like I said, when you're starting your own business, every dollar counts. And then there are 5, 6 media classes that we will also reimburse you for attending. The way it works is you need to have a relationship with us. Lo and behold, I gotta wait for you to have a relationship with us. I'm gonna have you fill out this, and basically it's your name, your business name, what class you want to take, and then at the bottom is the agreement. You're gonna submit the application. That means you're gonna talk to me or to Jane or to Jeff, submit your application. We will let you know within 24 hours whether we're gonna reimburse you for taking the class or not. You will go ahead, you'll register for the class or workshop, you'll purchase any books. Save your receipts. Okay, you have to have the receipt for me to reimburse you. Attend the workshop. There's a slip that you'll get at the time when we tell you that we're gonna do this. You attend the workshop, then yes, Southeast Community College already knows about this. The instructor will sign that you attended. You bring me that, your receipts, within a week I'll have a reimbursement check to you. And probably faster than that, but when you bring in your receipts, you'll sit down with me again. And since this is a test, I'm gonna want your impressions, was this class a good thing? Do I wanna continue to reimburse people to attend it? Things like that. Like I said, you just agree to meet with us twice, once when you apply and once when you completed it. We also are gonna collect some business information. Your name will not be attached to this, but this is information that we will send to the state of Nebraska. We will also send it to the SBA, but it's not attached to a name, so your privacy is protected. And basically, it's demographic information so that they can publish their numbers. Last thing I want to say, and I'm trying to watch my time here, is you're going, well, Dorris Miller, we really appreciate you supplying coffee, and we know that you're here almost every single week. But what makes me qualified to help you with your business? I was with a retail bank for 15 years. I was an operations manager. So my background is the nuts and bolts of lending. Although I did have a few, I guess you would call them private customers, people who expected special treatment because of their economic situation. So I've got a pretty good grasp. A majority of my lending is consumer, equity, and commercial. When our bank was closed, I worked a couple contracts with the acquiring bank, helping people transition over to the new bank. And I was unemployed for about 4 months when Rick hired me. As I mentioned before, my husband is a small businessman. And so we have gone through feast and famine together. Got a pretty good idea of things that go right and wrong. The other thing is Community Development Resources is also a small business. We've seen some of the mistakes that we've made in the past. We've seen some of the things that we go right. So I got a pretty good grasp on what's going on. And if nothing else, I'm a good person to talk to. So anybody have any questions? Yeah, Doug?
Yeah, Doris, under your consulting piece, do you assist or help locate grants or write grants for businesses?
If you know of a grant that a small business can get,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to help them. But I will tell you that unless you are in the science and technology fields, there's next to nothing as far as grants. There are a couple of very small grants that are highly competitive, and we're talking 15,000 or less, that are for women. Like I said, they get thousands of applications and they don't do that many of them. So,
Why do you not work with faith-based organizations?
because we work with government money.
That says it all.
Plus the fact that we want to encourage anybody, if I worked only with Lutherans, and I
He's
was,
the right choice.
and by the way, I was raised Lutheran, baptized Lutheran, went through confirmation classes, taught Vacation Bible School, and now I am an enlightened hedonist. But if we worked with, say, Lutherans, for example, we don't want the Catholics to feel left out. We don't want the Muslims to feel left out.
I'm not thinking more about so much faith-based, but there's organizations like Christian Heritage and other nonprofit that are somewhat faith-based, and they're almost non-denominational. And sometimes there's some startups in those areas.
Once again, and especially,
They've got the big things to go on.
and especially on the nonprofit loan fund, that was one of the terms that Wood's charitable fund set for us, is that we could not use it for faith-based, so.
I understand that, I was just curious.
Question along that line, so faith-based and nonprofits, they're not necessarily the same thing, so.
Correct.
But you can't work with any nonprofit because it might be faith-based?
No.
Okay, that's the question.
We, like I said, we have the nonprofit loan fund that we can do in Lincoln, Lancaster County, but we have made regular SBA loans to nonprofits outside of Lancaster County. The issue is we have to be careful about the faith-based. So, yeah.
What type of business consulting do you guys do?
We will do everything that we feel comfortable with. If we do not feel comfortable with doing something or don't feel like we can give you the best advice, we will help you find or work with somebody who is an expert. Like I said, I have a couple different accountants that we work with. I have some people lined up as far as human resources, although most of you won't need that right off the bat. You aren't going to be hiring. I have a couple different legal resources, things like that. So, yeah, if we can't help you, we will find you the person who can help you. And we will keep it low cost and preferably free to you as the business owner.
Doris, if I'm coming in for a micro loan, what type of documents do I need to bring with me to come in and visit with you?
Why, Steve, I'm glad you asked that. The lists are actually out on our website as well. You can print them off. We have an application. We do charge a $35 application fee. We will ask you, for the SBA money, we will ask you to certify, sign a document that says you have no outstanding federal state tax liens and no outstanding child support payments. If you are asking for more than $20,000, we will ask, have you been to a bank? With a small lender as we are, we want to make sure that you are getting the best rate you can, which would be at a bank. We also, the smaller the loans are that we make, the more loans we can make, because we have a certain amount of money that we can work with. We're going to ask for your personal tax returns for 2 years. If you're working, we're going to ask to see pay stubs. We're going to ask you to list what kind of collateral you have. Like I mentioned, we took a baby grand piano. We have taken motors, generators. We have taken restaurant tables and chairs, and we did one hood, and unfortunately that restaurant, which was really good, failed. We actually went in and took the hood out because it was an expensive piece.
Collateral.
This lets me bring up something that I think is tremendously important, the business plan. If you do not have a business plan, then you're probably planning to fail. It doesn't need to be a 300-page document, but what we need to see on your business plan is we need to see, did you think about what you're going to do? Who's your customer? How do you know that's your customer? Where's your customer located? What's your competition like? How are you going to price your goods? How are you going to advertise? And yes, we can help you. We have, didn't mention marketing people, but we have a number of marketing people that we can recommend to you as well. So the business plan is like your roadmap. This is how you're going to get from today to 5 years from now. So, and if you come to us and you have a small business plan, we're going to go through it. We'll help you determine what else you need to add to it. Sorry, I'm digressing here a little bit. We're going to ask you come up with cash flow projections. We had one business just recently, which we unfortunately were unable to help. Great product. Pricing was good. Location was a little expensive, but the projections were pie in the sky. You know, there was no documentation. Where did you come up with these projections? Well, the traffic in this location is this, and I'm going to sell these for that, and if I get, 10% of them, this is how much money I'm going to make. Well, how do you know you're going to get 10%? Is that what similar businesses in this area get? There were a couple other issues with that application as well, but we're going to want to know about you, your resume. If you are anything other than a sole proprietor, we're going to want to see your articles, bylaws, things like that. One of the things we see, and no offense, Fred, but when you use like Legal Shield or Legal Zoom, those are inexpensive, good ways to go, but make sure you get a banking resolution put in there. That's one of the issues we find with the small businesses is they have put this together and they have no banking resolution. I can't loan that business money because they have not said that they can borrow money. Insurance. If you're going into, say you are going into the cabinet making business, do you have your contractor's registration done? Have you done your thing for the sales and use tax? If you're going to operate a daycare, there's a whole slug of things you have to do there. Do you have all of those certifications done? If you've been in business, we're going to want to see like your lease or any contractual obligations, 2 years worth of tax returns, things like that. Like I said, all of that information is on our website on the internet. You can pick it up. And did that answer it?
You did, thank you.
Okay.
We have time for one more question.
Well, you mentioned that if you borrow, you can get a loan from a bank, you can get better interest rates. What are your rates, and do they vary, and how are they determined?
For loans of $10,000 and less, the rate's 8.5%. For loans $10,000 and more, the rate is 7 3/4. Although we have been able to go down to 7.5 for quite a few businesses based on, on paper they look really good. We're going to give them a break if we can. We're a nonprofit. We don't care about making money. We just care about covering our costs. So I should mention that the interest rate for nonprofits is 0. We don't make any money off those loans. Yeah.
Something I noticed recently as far as a trend on the internet seems to be giving loans on accounts receivable or giving loans based on credit card receipts or something like that. Do you do that?
That's nothing new. The thing you're going to run into when you go on the internet is they're for-profit businesses. You're not going to get as good a rate. Although banks here in town do something called factoring, which is basically what it ends up being is you're selling your receivables to the bank at a discount. So if you have 100,000 receivables, they're going to give you say $60,000, $50,000 for them. But as they come in, these people are still gonna pay you $100,000, but the excess of what they gave you is gonna go to the bank. There are companies that, yes, will handle the credit card receipts and things like that, and what you're gonna end up seeing on that is you're gonna end up seeing a weekly payment, based on what you're bringing in, so. I talked to you on the phone.
Yes, you did. My bank offered me for $40 a month to do my billing and collections, and then direct deposit into my business account. Does that sound like a reasonable idea?
I couldn't tell you without seeing exactly what they're gonna do. And I would suggest, if you're not comfortable, that you contact the second institution. And now I'm gonna make a plug. The big national banks can do a lot of things, have a lot of programs available, but as an entrepreneur and small business person, I'm going to really push you to go to a local or community bank or a credit union. These people have a stronger interest in the economic development of our city, of our county, of our state. You'll get to know them. One of the things that we do is we can be extremely flexible. So say we have loaned you money and you have a payment that you have to make every month, and you've sprained your ankle and you can't get out and call on people, so your income's going to be reduced for the next 3 months or next 6 weeks, but it's going to take you 3 months to get recovered. We are flexible. We can do a modification. We can make your payments interest only for those 3 months and extend the maturity date of the loan. But what we can't do is we cannot do your books for you. We can't do filings and things like that for you. But anyway, back to selecting a bank. Go for a community bank, locally owned. And if you're not comfortable and if you're concerned about whether you're getting a good deal, talk to another institution. And Jane and I and Jeff were on 4th floor in this building in this corner. Come up and visit with us. Like I said, I've got brochures back on the donut table. And please eat donuts, because otherwise I'll take them home and eat them all.
Doris, thank you so much. As a real coffee drinker, I know you'll use that.
Yeah.
Focus Sweet mug.
Yeah, I
Thank you
will.
for being here. Would you do our drawing for us? Again, we are drawing for a free target analysis and personal coaching session valued at $99.
This is a really good thing to have if you're putting together your business plan.
Fred, with legal zero. Draw again, okay.
But thank you.
You bet.
John, right?
Draw again. I mean, I value that.
Yes,
I've done it
right.
before. So.
Yeah.
Constantine.
There you go. Let's go again.
Draw again, okay.
It is a great value.
Yes.
Andrew.
Andrew Bush.
There you go.
All right, there you go.
Fourth time's a charm.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for being here. Please hang on as long as you like. If you have additional questions for Doris about any business lending need, I'll bet she can probably answer your question, or Jane right there. So